My toxic fiancé slept with my sister during his bachelor party and secretly sold intimate photos of me online. So on what was supposed to be our wedding day, I burned everything down in the most savage, unforgettable, and badass way imaginable. I arrived at my own wedding in a dark gown and sturdy boots, clutching a microphone instead of a floral arrangement. 3 years prior, I believed my partner, Brandon, was the very reason the sun rose. Now, I understand he was merely a shadow obscuring it. I prepared meals, maintained our home, crafted elaborate scrapbooks for him, and organized surprise birthday celebrations. In return, he overlooked my birthday entirely, presenting me with a store gift card containing a mere $3.28. "I love you" was replaced with "Did you complete the chores?" My relatives adored him. My sibling Melanie described him as enchanting. My mother advised, "Give him time. Men require more time to mature." So, I extended him patience. I offered him everything. Then, he proposed during a football tailgate, shirtless, speaking indistinctly, and holding a candy ring. His companions yelled, "She accepted," before I even uttered a sound. I wished to depart right then, but his mother completely took over. She selected the date, the location, the catering, and even my gown, a voluminous disaster I was forbidden to modify. I never saw invitations for my own acquaintances. "We desire an elegant guest list," she informed me without a flicker. And then Brandon, my supposed loving fiancé, casually revealed during dinner that he had been selling images of my feet and undergarments on a subscription site. "We could use the extra funds," he shrugged. "And they're just feet." I should have destroyed everything that evening. But my mother whispered, "Just discuss it with him after the honeymoon." And I realized this was more than just a ceremony. It was a theatrical production, and I intended to dismantle it before a live audience. The night before the significant event, I discovered Brandon had been intimate with Melanie at his bachelor party. She tearfully confessed, labeling it a mistake. I was indifferent. I didn't even react, because now I had my grand finale. So, I proceeded down that aisle in black, not white. And upon reaching the altar, I did not grasp his hand. I seized the microphone. I had composed vows, but not to unite with this individual. I composed vows to myself, to never again be silenced. Whispers spread. My fiancé once recorded me in the shower and shared it with his friends. He marketed my photographs online. He allowed his mother to treat me like a rented vehicle and slept with my sister. And still, not one of you inquired if I was all right. You simply desired a wedding. The quiet was deafening. I turned to Brandon. "So no, I will not marry you. You do not merit vows. You merit consequences." I literally dropped the microphone. He stood there, crimson-faced, fists clenched, until he lunged for the cake and thrust it into my hair, frosting dripping down my cheeks while his foolish friend recorded the entire scene. "Good luck finding someone who will care for you," he uttered. I wiped the icing from my lips and declared, "Oh, I already have. Myself." Then I turned, exited without a backward glance, drove home, and disconnected from every single one of them. That night, I uploaded the recording. The caption read, "Did not marry. Achieved liberation instead." I awoke the next morning to a message from my colleague Marcus. "Hope you're doing well after last night. Let me know if you require anything." I smiled at my phone, an unfamiliar sensation after months of dread whenever it vibrated. I quickly typed a thank you and prepared for my workday. At the office, my colleague Jen approached my desk with coffee. "How are you managing after yesterday's commotion?" "Better than anticipated," I replied, accepting the mug gratefully. "Thank you for checking in." "Of course, that's what companions do." She paused. "So Marcus seems pleasant." I rolled my eyes. "It's not like that. We barely know each other." "I'm just saying, he appeared ready to confront Brandon for you. That's rather appealing." I chuckled, surprised by how natural it felt. Let's concentrate on me being a functioning individual before introducing romance into the equation. The day proceeded without incident until I checked my phone during lunch. 3 missed calls from my mother. I sighed and listened to her voice message. "Darling, please call me back. Melanie is distraught. She claims you contacted the authorities about her. This has gone too far. We are family. We need to discuss this thoroughly." I deleted it without returning the call. My family had made their decision when they supported Brandon, when they instructed me to simply endure the wedding, when they prioritized appearances over my well-being. That evening, I scrolled through a social media platform and froze. Melanie had shared an image of her hand adorned with an engagement ring, a genuine one, not a candy toy, with a caption, "When you know, you know. Engaged. Blessed." The comments section was filled with congratulations, including one from my mother. "So delighted for you both. Love prevails." I tossed my phone across the sofa. Love prevails after what they inflicted upon me? The sheer nerve was astonishing. My fingers trembled as I retrieved my phone to inspect for damage. The screen was intact, but my spirit felt as though it had fractured open once more. The cushion where my phone had landed still bore the impression of the impact, a small indentation that somehow mirrored the emptiness in my chest. The apartment suddenly felt too quiet, the walls too confining. I walked to the window and pressed my forehead against the cool glass, observing the streetlights illuminate as twilight descended over the neighborhood. Vehicles passed below, transporting people home to families who presumably did not betray one another. Before I could descend further into despair, my phone chimed with a message from Marcus. Free for dinner Friday? No pressure, just thought it might be pleasant to converse without a police visit interrupting. I hesitated, then typed back, certainly, but strictly as friends. Absolutely. Friends consume food together. It's a common activity. I smiled despite myself. Friday arrived, and dinner with Marcus was surprisingly effortless. He shared details about his profession as a graphic designer, his rescued canine named Pancake, and how he had spent the past year renovating his grandfather's old residence. Enough about me, he eventually stated. How are you truly coping with everything? I traced the edge of my water glass. Honestly, some days I'm enraged, some days I'm relieved, and some days I simply feel foolish for not discerning it sooner. You are not foolish, he asserted firmly. Manipulative individuals are skilled at what they do. The most difficult part is they are attempting to rewrite history, portraying me as the antagonist in their romantic narrative. I shook my head. They are engaged now. Did you know that, after everything, they are playing the role of the blissful couple? Marcus's expression darkened. That's messed up. I'm sorry. Don't be. It merely confirms I made the correct decision. When he escorted me to my vehicle, he did not attempt to embrace me or make any advances. He simply stated, text me when you arrive home safely. Okay. It was such a simple courtesy, but it nearly brought me to tears. The restaurant's soft illumination had concealed my teary eyes. But in the harsh fluorescent glow of the parking lot, I blinked rapidly to prevent tears from falling. My car keys jingled in my trembling hands as I fumbled with the lock. The metal felt cold against my skin, grounding me in the present moment. I slid into the driver's seat and remained there for a moment, inhaling the familiar aroma of my car's pine air freshener and the faint traces of the vanilla fragrance I had worn for years. Brandon had consistently complained about that perfume, asserting it was too sweet, too ordinary. I had continued wearing it anyway, one of my small, silent acts of defiance. The following day, I awoke to a deluge of notifications. Melanie had tagged me in a post, a nostalgic photograph of us as bridesmaids at our cousin's wedding. The caption read, "Missing my sister. Family disagreements should not endure forever. My username, I love you no matter what. Sisters. Forgiveness." The comments were even worse. So sad when families fracture. Hope you two can resolve it. Blood is thicker than water. And Brandon had commented, family means everything. Hope she comes around. I felt ill. This was not about reconciliation. This was about controlling the story, making me appear as the unreasonable one who could not overlook a simple error. I immediately blocked both of them, but the damage was done. My phone began buzzing with messages from relatives and mutual acquaintances, inquiring why I was being so harsh on my sister. I did not respond to any of them. Instead, I spent the weekend thoroughly cleaning my apartment, discarding the last of Brandon's belongings that had lingered in drawers and cabinets. I discovered one of his sweatshirts tucked behind the sofa and deposited it into the donation pile without a second thought. The sweatshirt still carried a faint scent of his cologne, that expensive brand he insisted on purchasing even when we could barely afford rent. I held it at arm's length, recalling how he would wear it after gym sessions, how he would drape it over my shoulders on cool evenings, only to later complain that I had stretched it out. The fabric was soft between my fingers, worn thin at the elbows. For a fleeting instant, nostalgia threatened to overwhelm me, not for Brandon himself, but for the person I believed he was, the relationship I thought we shared. I dropped the sweatshirt into the donation bag with a decisive thud and secured the bag, sealing away that chapter of my existence. On Monday, I received an electronic mail from an unrecognized account. Remove the video or we begin sharing yours. You know which one. My blood ran cold. The shower video. Brandon still possessed it, and now he was threatening to release it if I did not comply. I immediately forwarded the email to my legal representative, adding it to the growing collection of harassment evidence. I could not sleep that night. Every sound made me start. What if they leaked the video regardless? What if Brandon decided to escalate beyond mere threats? I finally drifted off around 4 a.m., only to be abruptly awakened by my alarm an hour later. I dragged myself to work, exhausted and on edge. My supervisor Kenneth immediately noticed. "You appear as though you haven't slept in days," he stated, frowning. "Is everything all right?" I hesitated. I had been vague about my personal difficulties at work, but Kenneth had been supportive when I had requested time off after the wedding catastrophe. Not really, I admitted. My former partner is threatening to release a private video of me. Kenneth's expression hardened. That is illegal. Have you spoken to the authorities? I've documented everything for the restraining order case, but I trailed off, unwilling to confess how terrified I was. Take the day, he stated firmly. Go speak with your lawyer and inform me if you require more time or resources. The company supports you. I nearly wept at his straightforward assistance. I thanked him and proceeded directly to my lawyer's office, where I presented her with the menacing email. This is a classic example of revenge pornography and threats, she declared, adding it to my file. We will amend the restraining order to include this, and I strongly advise filing a police report specifically regarding this threat. I nodded, feeling slightly more in control. What if he actually releases it? Then he will face incarceration, she stated simply. Many jurisdictions have specific laws against this now, but let us hope the threat of legal repercussions deters him. I filed the police report that afternoon. The officer was surprisingly understanding, taking detailed notes and assuring me they would investigate. As I departed the station, I felt a slight burden lift. I was fighting back. I was no longer simply enduring their abuse. The police station steps were worn smooth from years of foot traffic, and I paused at the bottom to inhale a deep breath of fresh air. The afternoon sun felt warm on my face after the sterile coolness of the station's interior. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the maple trees lining the street, their shadows dancing on the sidewalk. For the first time in days, my shoulders relaxed slightly. The knot of tension between my shoulder blades loosened just enough to remind me it was present. I observed a mother pass by with a stroller, completely engrossed in her own world, and envied her ordinary day. My phone felt heavy in my pocket, a constant reminder of the threat looming over me, but I resisted the urge to check it again. Instead, I walked to my car with deliberate steps, focusing on the sound of my shoes against the pavement, the distant hum of traffic, anything but the fear still lurking at the edges of my thoughts. That evening, Marcus messaged to check in. I had not informed him about the latest threat, but something in my brief responses must have alerted him. Bad day, he inquired. The worst, I admitted. Brandon is escalating. Need company? I can bring Pancake. He is an excellent therapy dog. The thought of sitting alone in my apartment with my fears was suddenly unbearable. Actually, yes, that would be nice. An hour later, Marcus arrived with his dog, a comical-looking mixed breed with one floppy ear, who immediately rolled over for belly rubs. I found myself laughing as Pancake wiggled across my living room floor. See? Magic, Marcus stated, setting down a bag. I also brought frozen dessert and terrible movies, scientifically proven remedies for difficult days. We did not discuss Brandon or Melanie. Instead, we watched a hilariously bad science fiction film while Pancake snored between us on the sofa. It was the most normal I had felt in months. Thank you for this, I expressed as they were leaving. I needed it. Anytime, Marcus replied. And I mean that. Day or night. The click of my door lock echoed in the sudden quiet after they departed. The apartment felt different somehow, still mine, but less like a fortress and more like a home again. The cushions on the sofa still bore the indentation where Marcus had sat, and a few of Pancake's golden hairs gleamed on the dark fabric. I did not brush them away immediately. Instead, I wrapped myself in the throw blanket that now carried a faint scent of Marcus's cologne. Nothing like Brandon's. This was earthier, more subtle, and I lingered in the comforting warmth of good company. The film's end credits were still playing, casting a blue glow across my living room. I could still taste the chocolate ice cream, still feel the vibration of Pancake's contented snores against my leg. For the first time in weeks, the silence of my apartment did not feel menacing. The next day, I received a notification that Melanie had tagged me in another post. Despite my better judgment, I examined it. It was a sonogram image with the caption, "The best surprise. Baby coming in 7 months. My username, you're going to be an aunt. Pregnant. Bond. Blessed." I stared at my phone in disbelief. She was expecting Brandon's child, and she was using it to try to manipulate me back into their lives. The comments were already flowing in. This changes everything. Family needs to unite now. Nothing more crucial than being there for a new baby. Time to set aside differences for the little one. My mother had commented, "My first grandchild. My username, we need to heal as a family now. This is bigger than any disagreement." I threw my phone down, hands shaking with fury. They were exploiting an unborn child as a manipulative tactic. A child conceived while Brandon was still engaged to me. It was a new low, even for them. My stomach churned with a nauseating blend of anger and disbelief. The sonogram image burned in my mind, A grainy black and white blur that was supposed to erase all the pain, all the betrayal. I paced my kitchen, the cool tiles beneath my bare feet, attempting to process this new manipulation. The refrigerator hummed in the background. A clock ticked somewhere. Ordinary sounds in an increasingly extraordinary situation. I opened a cupboard, closed it, opened another, not even certain what I was seeking. My reflection caught in the microwave door revealed flushed cheeks and wild eyes. I splashed cold water on my face at the sink, the shock of it bringing me back to myself. Water dripped from my chin onto my shirt as I gripped the counter edge, focusing on my breathing, the way my therapist had instructed me. In, out, in, out. The granite was cool and solid beneath my palms, anchoring me to reality. I took a deep breath and retrieved my phone again. Instead of replying to the post, I took screenshots, then blocked my mother as well. I was finished with all of them. That afternoon, I received a message from an unrecognized number. Are you really going to ignore your own niece/nephew? That's heartless. Family should come first. It was Brandon. I immediately blocked the number and added the screenshot to my evidence file. 10 minutes later, another message from a different number. You cannot keep ignoring us. We are family now, whether you like it or not. I blocked that one too. Then another, and another. They were generating new numbers to harass me. I finally powered off my phone completely, overwhelmed by the barrage. When I reactivated it the next morning, there were dozens of messages from unknown numbers, all with the same theme. I was selfish for not forgiving them. I needed to consider the baby. Family comes first. I changed my phone number that day. I provided the new number only to my supervisor, a few close friends, my lawyer, and Marcus. For the first time in weeks, my phone was silent. The tranquility lasted exactly 3 days. Then, a colleague approached my desk, appearing uneasy. There's someone here to see you, she stated. In the reception area. She says she's your sister. My stomach plummeted. Tell her I'm in a meeting. I did, but she's insisting. She says it's a family emergency. I sighed and headed to the lobby, anger intensifying with each stride. The walk to the lobby felt like a march to an execution. The fluorescent lights overhead hummed faintly, casting harsh shadows that seemed to follow me down the corridor. My heels clicked against the polished floor, each step echoing in the quiet hallway. Colleagues glanced up as I passed, their curious eyes tracking my progress. I could feel perspiration forming at the small of my back, my blouse adhering slightly to my skin despite the office's robust air conditioning. I smoothed my hair, straightened my shoulders, and attempted to compose my face into something neutral. The glass doors to the lobby loomed ahead, and through them, I could discern Melanie's silhouette, her hand resting protectively on her still flat abdomen. My heart pounded against my ribs as I pushed the door open, the cool metal of the handle a final moment of delay before the confrontation. Melanie stood there in a flowing top that emphasized her still flat stomach, eyes wide with feigned concern. What are you doing here? I demanded, keeping my voice low. You changed your number, she accused. I had no way to reach you. That was the intention. You need to depart. Not until you speak with me. She placed a hand on her stomach. This alters things. You're going to be an aunt. No, I am not, I stated flatly. You and Brandon made your choices. I made mine. We are finished. Her eyes filled with tears. How can you be so callous? This is your niece or nephew. A child you're using as a manipulative tool. It's repulsive, Melanie. That's untrue. We desire you in our lives, in the baby's life. After what you did. After Brandon threatened to release private videos of me. After you both harassed me for weeks. I shook my head. You don't want me in your lives. You want me to be quiet and pretend everything is fine so you don't appear unfavorably. Her expression hardened. Brandon was correct. You're just resentful and envious. I require you to leave now, or I am contacting security. Fine. She thrust an envelope at me. Mom and Dad wished you to have this. It's an invitation to our engagement celebration. They are hoping you will attend, and we can begin healing as a family. I did not accept the envelope. Goodbye, Melanie. She dropped it at my feet and left. I retrieved it only to discard it in the waste bin on my return to my desk. The envelope was cream-colored and substantial, expensive stationery that likely cost more than the store gift card Brandon had given me for my birthday. Gold embellishment caught the light as it arced through the air into the trash can, landing with a satisfying thud among discarded coffee cups and crumpled papers. The receptionist feigned indifference, but I could feel her gaze on my back as I walked away. My cheeks burned with a mixture of anger and mortification. Colleagues in the hallway quickly averted their eyes as I passed, their sudden interest in ceiling tiles and floor patterns almost comical. Back at my desk, I noticed my hands were still trembling. I gripped my mouse tightly, attempting to concentrate on the spreadsheet on my screen, but the numbers blurred together. The office sounds faded into white noise, phones ringing, keyboards clicking, the distant hum of conversation, as I struggled to regain my composure. That night, I received a call from my lawyer. "Good news," she stated. "The judge has approved the amended restraining order, including the revenge pornography threats. Brandon has been served." I felt a wave of relief. "Thank you." "There's more," she continued. "The police investigation uncovered evidence that Brandon has been selling those photographs for over a year, not just recently. They are considering criminal charges." My hands shook as I processed this. What does that imply? It means he could face serious consequences, but it also means he might escalate before things worsen for him. Be extra vigilant. Okay. After we concluded the call, I double-checked all my locks and windows. The notion of Brandon facing actual consequences was gratifying, but terrifying. Individuals like him did not gracefully accept defeat. The following day, I received an electronic mail from a local news reporter. "I am preparing a story on revenge pornography and restraining orders. Would you be willing to discuss your case? Sources inform me your former fiancé is facing potential charges." I immediately deleted it. The last thing I needed was my story splashed across local news, but the email unnerved me. How did they know about the case? Had Brandon or Melanie leaked it to control the narrative? I contacted my lawyer again, who assured me court records were public but promised to investigate whether anything had been inappropriately shared. She also advised me not to speak to any reporters. The thought of my private pain becoming public fodder made my skin crawl. I envisioned local news anchors discussing my case with practiced sympathy, neighbors whispering as I collected my mail, strangers recognizing me at the grocery store. I checked my blinds again, ensuring no gaps allowed anyone to see inside. The apartment that had finally begun to feel like a sanctuary now felt exposed, vulnerable. I jumped at a knock on my door, only to discover it was merely the delivery person leaving a package. The cardboard box remained untouched in my entryway for hours while I calmed my racing heart. That night, I slept with my bedroom door locked, a chair propped under the handle, an extra precaution that felt necessary, even though logic told me it was excessive. The sheets tangled around my legs as I tossed and turned, my dreams filled with cameras and pointing fingers and Brandon's laughing face. That weekend, Marcus invited me to a small art exhibition where his friend was showcasing photography. It felt good to engage in something normal, to be among people who knew nothing about my personal turmoil. "You appear more at ease," Marcus observed as we examined a landscape photograph. "I am," I realized. "The restraining order helps. And changing my number. Good. You deserve some tranquility." As we moved to the next photograph, I froze. Across the room stood Brandon's mother, conversing with an older couple. "She hasn't noticed me yet. We should depart," I whispered to Marcus, nodding discreetly in her direction. He immediately understood. "Side exit. Come on." We slipped out quietly, but as we reached Marcus's car, I heard someone call my name. Brandon's mother was hurrying toward us, her face taut with anger. "Fleeing again?" she called. "That seems to be your forte." Marcus stepped slightly in front of me. "Ma'am, we are leaving. Please do not approach." "I merely wish to speak to the woman who is attempting to ruin my son's life," she snapped. "Do you realize she is trying to press charges over some harmless photographs after she humiliated him at their wedding?" "Harmless?" I echoed, incredulous. "He sold intimate photographs of me without my consent. He filmed me without permission and shared it with friends. Boys will be boys," she dismissed. "If you hadn't created such a scene, none of this would be occurring. Now my son and his fiancée are expecting a child, and instead of supporting them, you're trying to send him to prison." Marcus opened the car door for me. "We are departing now. You will regret this," she called as we entered. "Families should unite, not tear each other down." I was shaking as Marcus drove away. "I am so sorry," I expressed. "I had no idea she would be there." "Do not apologize. You did nothing wrong." He glanced at me. "For what it's worth, everything she said merely confirmed you made the correct choice walking away from that family." The car's interior felt like a protective bubble as we pulled away from the curb. Streetlights streaked past the windows, illuminating Marcus's profile in rhythmic flashes of gold. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel, jaw clenched in controlled anger. The heater hummed softly, pushing warm air that smelled faintly of his cologne and the leather seats. I wrapped my arms around myself, attempting to stop the trembling that had overtaken my body. My heart was still racing, adrenaline coursing through me from the confrontation. The city streets blurred outside my window as tears threatened to spill over. I blinked them back, focusing instead on the solid presence of Marcus beside me, the steady rhythm of his breathing, the gentle way he had placed himself between me and danger without hesitation. The radio played softly in the background, some independent song I did not recognize but found oddly comforting. As we stopped at a red light, Marcus reached over and briefly squeezed my hand before returning his to the wheel. The simple gesture of support meant more than any words could have. The next morning, I received an email with the subject line, "Final Opportunity." It contained a single image, a screenshot of the shower video Brandon had taken, with my face clearly visible. Below it was a message, "Remove your video and abandon everything by tomorrow, or this goes public. Your decision." I immediately contacted my lawyer, forwarding her the email with hands that would not cease trembling. "This is direct evidence of criminal behavior," she stated grimly. "I am contacting the police right now. Do not respond to the email." An hour later, 2 officers were at my apartment, taking a statement. They seemed to take the threat seriously, asking detailed questions about Brandon's past conduct and access to my personal information. "We will attempt to trace the email," one officer stated. "In the meantime, stay with someone if you can. These situations can escalate rapidly." After they departed, I called Marcus. "I dislike asking this, but could I stay at your place tonight? Or could you stay here? The police believe I should not be alone." "I'll be there in 30 minutes with Pancake," he stated without hesitation. That night, as Marcus slept on my sofa with Pancake curled at his feet, I stared at my ceiling, wondering how my life had devolved into this. 3 months ago, I was planning a wedding. Now, I was concealing myself in my own apartment, terrified my former partner would release intimate videos of me. My phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Check your email. Time is running out." I blocked the number and powered off my phone. Whatever transpired tomorrow, I was not yielding to their threats. The ceiling above my bed had a hairline crack extending from the light fixture to the corner, barely visible in the dim glow from the street lamp outside. I had never noticed it before tonight. My eyes traced its jagged path repeatedly as sleep eluded me. The sheets felt too warm, then too cold. Every creak of the building settling made me tense. From the living room came the soft sounds of Marcus's steady breathing and Pancake's occasional doggy snores. The digital clock on my nightstand glowed 3:17 a.m., its red numbers casting a faint crimson hue on my water glass. My mouth was dry, but I could not bring myself to rise for a refill. Moving might disrupt the fragile sense of security I had constructed. Instead, I curled onto my side, pulling the comforter up to my chin despite the warmth of the room. The pillow still carried a faint scent of my shampoo, a lavender fragrance that usually helped me sleep. Tonight, not even that familiar comfort could quiet my racing thoughts. I attempted the breathing exercises my therapist had taught me. In for 4, hold for 7, out for 8, but my lungs seemed to resist the pattern, catching on invisible snags of anxiety. The next day, my lawyer called with positive news. "The police traced the email," she stated. "It originated from Brandon's IP address. They are obtaining a warrant now." Relief washed over me. "So it's finished?" "Not quite yet, but we are close. The police will contact you once they have executed the warrant." Later that day, I received a call from the police. They had executed the warrant and discovered the videos on Brandon's computer, along with evidence he had been selling photographs of other women as well. He was in custody. "What happens now?" I inquired. "He will be charged with revenge pornography, extortion, and violating the restraining order," the officer explained. "Given the evidence, it's a strong case." After I concluded the call, I sat in stunned silence. It was truly over. Brandon could not harm me anymore. That evening, as Marcus and I celebrated with takeout, my doorbell rang. I checked the peephole to see my parents standing there, looking solemn. "Do not answer it," Marcus advised. But some part of me required closure. I opened the door, but did not invite them inside. "We heard about Brandon," my mother stated, her voice strained. "How could you do this to your sister? She's pregnant." "I did nothing to Melanie," I stated calmly. "Brandon broke the law multiple times. He made a mistake," my father insisted. "But sending him to prison? That's going too far." "He threatened to release intimate videos of me," I stated. "He has been selling my photographs without consent for over a year. Those are not mistakes, they are crimes." My mother's expression hardened. "You need to drop the charges. Think about the baby. Think about your sister." "I am thinking about them," I stated. "I am thinking that child deserves better than a father who exploits women. I am thinking Melanie deserves better than a man who blackmails his ex." "You've changed," my mother accused. "You used to care about family." "I still do. I just finally realized I am part of that family too. My well-being matters just as much as anyone else's." "If you proceed with this, you are no longer welcome in our home," my father declared. I looked at them. These individuals who had raised me but could not see past their own expectations to protect me, and felt a strange calm. "That's your choice," I stated. "Goodbye." I closed the door gently, not slamming it. I no longer required dramatic gestures. I simply desired peace. Marcus looked at me with concern. Are you alright? Actually, yes, I realized. For the first time in a long time, I think I truly am. The door closed with a soft click that somehow felt more definitive than any slam could have. The wood grain under my palm was smooth and cool, grounding me in the moment. Behind me, Marcus stood in the middle of my living room, takeout containers still open on the coffee table, the aroma of pad thai and green curry filling the apartment. Outside, I heard my parents' car start and pull away. No lingering arguments, no tearful pleas, just the sound of tires on asphalt, growing fainter until they vanished completely. My shoulders, which had been tensed for confrontation, slowly relaxed. The burden I had been carrying, the obligation to please, to forgive, to prioritize everyone else, seemed to dissipate, leaving me lighter than I had felt in years. I turned back to Marcus, surprised to find myself smiling. The living room appeared different somehow, warmer, safer, more truly mine than it had ever been. The soft lamplight cast a golden glow over everything, highlighting the books I had chosen, the art I cherished, the spaces where I had removed Brandon's belongings and never replaced them. These empty spaces no longer felt like losses, they were possibilities. The next day, another letter arrived from Melanie. Like the first one, I dropped it unopened into the waste bin. Whatever she had to communicate, I did not need to hear it. I was composing my own narrative now. That afternoon, I posted an update to my original video. Some of you have requested updates. The concise version: my former partner was arrested for revenge pornography and extortion. The extended version: I discovered who truly supports me, and it was not whom I anticipated. Sometimes the family you choose is more significant than the family you were born into. Still free, still healing, still progressing. Within minutes, supportive comments flooded in. But the one that held the most meaning came from Marcus. Proud of you. The difficult part is over. The good part is just commencing. I smiled at my phone, then set it aside to enjoy the quiet of my apartment. The future stretched before me, uncertain but brimming with potential. And for the first time in years, I was eager to witness what came next. The subsequent few weeks passed in a blur of legal proceedings and tranquil evenings with Marcus and Pancake. Brandon remained in custody, denied bail due to the severity of the charges and his history of harassment. My lawyer kept me informed of every development, each call reinforcing that I had made the correct decision to fight back. The prosecutor is advocating for the maximum sentence, she informed me during our latest call. They found evidence he had been doing this to other women too. You are not alone in this. That revelation struck me profoundly. I was not Brandon's sole victim, merely the only one who had publicly confronted him. I wondered how many others had endured in silence, afraid or ashamed to come forward. One evening, while scrolling through social media, I noticed Melanie had made her accounts private, and Brandon's mother had completely deleted hers. The online harassment had ceased entirely. No more tags, no more manipulative posts, no more guilt-tripping comments. The silence was blissful. They're in damage control mode, Marcus suggested when I mentioned it. We were walking Pancake through the park, the autumn leaves crunching beneath our feet. Now that there are actual consequences, they're trying to hide. I nodded, watching Pancake pursue a squirrel up a tree. It's peculiar. For years, I was the one hiding, concealing my feelings, concealing my unhappiness. Now they are the ones who cannot face reality. Marcus squeezed my hand. Over the past weeks, our companionship had evolved into something deeper. Though we were proceeding painstakingly slowly, every time he sought permission before even holding my hand, I was reminded how different he was from Brandon. Have you considered what you will do after the trial? He inquired. I had not. Not truly. I had been so focused on surviving each day that planning for the future seemed impossible. Perhaps travel? I always desired to see Europe, but Brandon asserted it was a waste of money. You should do it, Marcus stated. Though I would miss our movie nights. I nudged his shoulder with mine. Perhaps I'll send you postcards. The moment was interrupted by my phone ringing, an unrecognized number. My heart raced until I answered and heard a woman's unfamiliar voice. Is this the woman from the wedding video, the one who called out her fiancé? I almost ended the call, but something in her tone stopped me. Yes, that's me. My name is Delilah. I believe I am one of the other women Brandon was selling photographs of. The police contacted me. Her voice cracked. I just wanted to thank you for coming forward. I never would have had the courage. My throat tightened. You do not need to thank me. I do, she insisted. When I saw your video, I thought you were so brave. I wish I had done the same when my ex was controlling me. We conversed for nearly 20 minutes. Delilah had briefly dated Brandon in college before me. He had taken intimate photographs that she believed were private. She had never known he had kept them, let alone sold them. There are 5 of us so far, she informed me. We are thinking of establishing a support group. Would you wish to join? For the first time, I realized my very public breakdown had not just liberated me. It might have assisted others too. I would like that, I stated. The first gathering of what we playfully termed the Brandon Survivors Club occurred the following week at a quiet coffee shop downtown. Besides Delilah and me, there were 3 other women: Grace, who had dated Brandon in high school; Sarah, who had met him at a bar last year; and Helen, who had briefly worked with him and rejected his advances. We shared our experiences over lattes, each one eerily similar. The initial intense affection, the gradual erosion of boundaries, the way he would make us feel irrational for questioning him. Did he give you a store gift card for your birthday too? Grace inquired, and we all burst into surprised laughter when I nodded. With like $3 on it. Sarah added, $3.28 exactly. I confirmed, and we laughed harder, the absurdity of it all finally resonating with me. By the conclusion of the meeting, we had created a group text and made plans to meet again. As we were leaving, Helen embraced me tightly. Thank you for being our voice, she whispered, for articulating what we could not. I hugged her back, recognizing that my very public embarrassment had transformed into something potent, something healing. The preliminary hearing for Brandon's case was scheduled for the following month. My lawyer thoroughly prepared me, explaining that I would need to testify about the harassment, the threats, and the unauthorized photographs. It will not be easy, she warned. His defense will attempt to portray you as vindictive, as overreacting. They will bring up the wedding video. Are you prepared for that? I considered it, facing Brandon across a courtroom, having my private pain scrutinized by strangers. I think so, I stated. I have already survived the worst he could inflict. The night before the hearing, I could not sleep. I paced my apartment, rehearsing my testimony, imagining Brandon's smug expression, Melanie's tears, his mother's glares. Around 2 a.m., my doorbell rang. I checked the security camera I had installed and saw Marcus standing there with Pancake. I opened the door, confused. What are you doing here? He held up a paper bag. Couldn't sleep. Figured you couldn't either. Brought stress brownies. I allowed them in, grateful for the companionship. We sat on my sofa, consuming brownies while Pancake snored between us. Neither of us mentioned the hearing until Marcus finally stated, "You know you don't have to do this alone, right?" I nodded, throat tight. I know. I'll be there tomorrow. So will Delilah and the others, front row. I leaned my head on his shoulder, allowing his steady presence to calm my racing thoughts. Thank you. The courtroom was more crowded than I had anticipated. My lawyer had cautioned me that local media might cover the story, but I was unprepared for the multitude of unfamiliar faces. I spotted Delilah and the others in the front row, as promised, with Marcus beside them. My parents and Melanie sat on the other side, not looking in my direction. Brandon was brought in, wearing an orange jumpsuit, his usual arrogance diminished by handcuffs and the gravity of his situation. He did not look at me. The proceedings were both better and worse than I had imagined. Better because the evidence against Brandon was overwhelming. The emails, the photographs found on his devices, the testimony from multiple victims. Worse because his lawyer employed precisely the tactics mine had warned about, portraying me as an unstable woman who had publicly humiliated her fiancé and was now seeking retribution. When it was my turn to testify, I focused on Marcus's encouraging nod from the gallery. I spoke clearly about the harassment, the threats, the violation I had felt upon discovering Brandon had been selling intimate images without my consent. And why did you post the video of your confrontation at the wedding? Brandon's lawyer inquired, his tone suggesting I had done something shameful. I met his gaze steadily. Because for years, I had been silenced, made to feel that my emotions did not matter, that I should simply comply with whatever Brandon desired. The video was me finally articulating my truth. The judge ruled there was sufficient evidence to proceed to trial. Brandon was returned to custody, and a trial date was set for 3 months later. As the courtroom emptied, Melanie approached me, her baby bump now visible under her loose dress. "Can we talk?" she inquired, her voice small. I glanced at Marcus, who nodded and stepped away to give us privacy. "What is it, Melanie?" She nervously twisted her engagement ring. "I didn't know about the photographs or the videos, I swear." "But you knew he was still engaged to me when you slept with him," I stated, keeping my voice level. "You knew he was cheating." She looked down. I thought he loved me, that I was special. The realization struck me then. Melanie was just another victim of Brandon's manipulation. A different kind, perhaps, but still ensnared in his web of deceit and charm. "He made me feel special too, once," I stated softly. "That's what he does." Tears filled her eyes. "What am I supposed to do now? I'm having his baby. I can't just walk away like you did." For a moment, I felt a flicker of the sisterly protectiveness I had once held for her. You can still choose yourself, Melanie, and your baby. You don't have to stay with him. She shook her head, hands protectively covering her stomach. Mom and Dad would never forgive me. They've already planned everything. The wedding, the nursery. They speak of Brandon as though he's some misunderstood hero. And what do you think now that you've seen the evidence? She hesitated. I don't know what to believe anymore. I reached into my purse and retrieved a business card. This is my therapist. She's helped me a lot. Perhaps she could help you too. Melanie took the card, appearing surprised at the gesture. Thank you. I cannot be what you desire right now, Melanie. I cannot pretend everything is fine between us, but I don't want you trapped like I was either. She nodded, slipping the card into her pocket. I should go. Mom and Dad are waiting. As she walked away, I felt a strange mix of sorrow and relief. I could not rescue Melanie. She would have to rescue herself, just as I had. But perhaps, just perhaps, I had planted a seed. 2 weeks before the trial, I received a letter from the prosecutor. Brandon had agreed to a plea bargain, guilty on all counts in exchange for a slightly reduced sentence. I would not have to testify in open court after all. How do you feel about it? Marcus inquired when I informed him. I considered the question carefully, relieved, mostly, but also, I don't know. Part of me wished to confront him one final time. To articulate what? That he did not break me? That I am stronger now than I ever was with him? Marcus smiled. I think he already knows that. It's why he accepted the deal. The day Brandon was sentenced, I did not attend the courthouse. Instead, I took the day off work and went hiking with Marcus and Pancake, ascending to a viewpoint overlooking the city. The autumn air was crisp, the leaves brilliant shades of red and gold. My phone buzzed with a message from Delilah, 15 years. No possibility of parole for 8. It's over. I showed Marcus the message, a wave of emotions washing over me. Relief, vindication, and finally, freedom. Real freedom. Not just from Brandon, but from the fear he had instilled in me. What now? Marcus inquired, his arm around my shoulders. I gazed out at the city below, at the vast sky above, at all the possibilities stretching before me. Now, I live on my terms. When we returned to my apartment that evening, there was a letter in my mailbox. Melanie's handwriting again. For a moment, I considered discarding it unopened, like the others, but something made me pause. I opened it carefully. Inside was a sonogram picture and a brief note. It's a girl. I'm naming her after Grandma Rose. I've moved out of Mom and Dad's. Started therapy. Thank you for the card. Maybe someday we can talk again. Mel. I traced the fuzzy outline of my niece in the picture, a lump forming in my throat. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But perhaps someday, a new beginning.